Molweni sanibonani, as we say at home, we are back like umqolo. My name is Jessica Nkoma, also known as Auntie Diski, and this is Fut-Afrique channel, and this is the podcast where we talk about her story. So we always have different guests on the podcast, mostly players, but we want to broaden this conversation and talk to the technical team, talk to the fan, talk to the parent of the ladies that we are always discussing. I'm super happy to be introducing the guests that we have today, just to dissect and find out about their roles in women's football spaces. And today I would like to introduce Lerato Matsetela and Khasaka. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
How are we?
Very well, thank you.
Good, thank you. So I think let's just extend that introduction so people get to know exactly what your role is and, you know, what are your objectives in terms of being in the space. And I'll start with Mom.
My name is Khasaka. I am a mother to two soccer players. Both my son and my daughter, they play soccer. They started at a very young age. And I've never played soccer, but I guess with them being in the space and me trying to be a supportive mother, they hooked me into soccer. I moved from being a soccer mom to being a super fan, and I'm gravitating more into women football because I think that's where we need to give more attention to, obviously, because there is just a gap between male and female. So we're trying to push the women more. And yes, I do have a 9 to 5, but even at work, they know that I'm a soccer mom. When it comes to supporting my kids, yes, it comes first. Luckily now I'm working from home, but even back then when I worked in the office, they knew even if it's 12, when I say my child has a soccer match at school, I don't go do pickups. I go watch that match and then go pick them up, take them home. So yeah, everyone in my space knows that you talk soccer, you're talking to Mimi.
So I think when one wants to know the description of a superwoman, this is who we are talking about. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Lerato, okay?
Okay.
Let's find out, who is Lerato?
Lerato Matsetela, fanatic, football fanatic, love football. Yeah. I'm a strength and conditioning coach for TS Galaxy Queens. I eat, breathe, live football.
Football.
Yeah.
Love it. And I want to ask, this is a conversation we always ask players, but I want to find out from your perspective, how did we get into the space? And I know, Mom, you probably answer and say that because my kids are playing football, but maybe there was another external love for football besides the kids. But I also want to know what basically sparked for you to be in the space, because it's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, but I was not as great. But I did try to play football, and then a lot of my uncles also played football. So Kejwako family, yeah, and then my mom used to love watching football as well. So I just grew up in an environment whereby it was just football.
I think I like that, you know, to highlight Mama Narata Ball, because it's rare, especially back in the days, you know, to have our parents, especially mothers, you know, being people that support the sports and all of that. And then I'm going to then move over to Mom to say, Mom, what got you into the space, besides obviously being a super mom and your kids playing the sport?
Well, my husband played soccer in his previous life.
And we want to know where he finished. What were the ranks?
No, he didn't go too far, but at some stage he played for Jamestown City, but it was back in the days. Yeah. And then my little brother as well played soccer. He also tried to have a development team in Kokasi. Actually, he's the one that sort of pushed and introduced both my kids into that space. But I've always been a Pirates fan. My mom has always been a Pirates fan. My dad was a Swallows fan. So we, in the house, there has always been that thing that we are soccer fans for different teams. You always pushing for your team to win, because if it doesn't win, so I've always been in that space. But I guess then with my kids now being in that space, I then sort of elevated, started to take it very seriously.
We love that. And let's dissect into, you know, the more tougher conversation. Women's football, you know, we are in the 20th century where there's a lot of growth, but it's slow growth. There are still some challenges that we face, you know, and I want to find out from you ladies, what are some of the challenges that you faced from being a person that is in the space, and some of the challenges you've witnessed, you know, from your own players, you know, coming from the grassroots levels all the way to where you are now. And mommy, also from your kids, you know, what are some of the challenges that they've experienced and you've had to endure, because as a parent, you basically need to provide the solutions.
Well, for now...
That yours sounds so heavy. Ketoma guy.
For now, the first challenge would be Utewa Seras in the industry as a female.
Yes.
It's very tough. So before I got to women, to working with women, a lot.
Okay.
I think from since I started, it's been guys until last year. So,
when you started at TS Galaxy.
Yeah. So for now, working in a working environment, it's very difficult. How introduce her, this is our fitness trainer, and then people just see a woman. They don't see a trainer until after the session. Then they'll be like, no, this person can really do their job. You know, it's very tough for judge you are just for being Masadi fella.
It's almost like you have to work triple the amount just to prove yourself.
True. And then it was not as difficult, but it also has its own challenges, you know, because now the league also, it's not professional yet, it's not professionalized, it's still semi-professional. So there are a lot of sacrifices that we have to make in order for us to be there. You know, I'm also speaking for women footballers as well. We make a lot of sacrifices. You find maybe and then in the evening I have to go to training. And then Monday to Friday I have to go to training and work. Saturday I have to go to the game. Traveling, maybe you have to go to Kimberley or... There are. It's very far. So we make a lot of sacrifices. We hardly see our families because we're always away, you know, but they're worth it.
Yeah, servants of the game.
Yeah.
And mommy, from your side?
From my side, to add to what Lerato has just said, there are a lot of sacrifices required in this space. I mean, like she's saying, people have to get to training. It's not every child that is as fortunate as my kids, that they actually have a mother that will make sure that they get to training, they go to tournaments, they have food when they are at tournaments. You know, with ladies teams, it's very hard. Most of them, they don't have a strong financial muscle. And as she was saying, in terms of travel, you know, we might say teams are not performing even at the level of Hollywood bets. But reality is, if you zoom into their reality, you check their travel arrangements, you realize, oh, these people are fatigued more than anything. I mean, not even trying to take it too far back, but if you look at the past 2 seasons, the teams that were relegated, both Tsunami Queens, both Golden Girls,
both Coal City, my Indies.
When you check within, they are from those small provinces, economically small provinces, and they probably the only team in that province. So most of their away game are really far. And you get them, they have to travel wee hours of the morning because teams don't afford to make them travel day before, sleep over, relax. They
the funds for hotels.
The mornings, not even in a luxury bus. They'll be traveling Kaiveko. It doesn't even have leg space. The seats are uncomfortable. You meet things modeling, maybe hunale accident, you end up being stuck in traffic. By the time you get to the stadium, you don't even have 2 minutes there, hurry. You know, breathe in, we are here. They don't perform optimally, and how do we expect them to?
And to add to what you just said now, you're probably missing 5 of your prominent players because they have a 9 to 5. They couldn't get leave. They've got exams.
Exactly. I mean, in 2022, when my daughter joined JVW, they had I don't know, there was some sort of a backlog. They played a lot of Wednesday evening games. So for teams South Honorable Coal City, you're traveling from far, you come into Joburg, you must play in the evening, and then you must drive back, and Kausan, you must wake up and go to work. It's the struggles are real. And another thing happens, sometimes Likodi Stadium, ablution facilities, those are my worst nightmare. I mean, there was a Hollywood Bets game, I think towards the end of last year that JVW played. We were at Zakani Stadium. The toilets were not working. They were locked. And the game was even live on TV. I have a 4-year-old, you know, with the toddlers. By the time she tells you, Mommy, I'm pressed, she's already too pressed. I literally had to go and ask the SABC guys to use the mobile toilet. Mobile toilet was there, but just for the SABC guys. I mean, what does it say about us fans? Besides the fence, it's a women mesh. Women, you can't go like guys can, you know. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges. There's really a lot of challenges.
And I think we're also hitting surface level, because I feel like if we had to talk about the challenges, we'll be here all day, you know. I mean, we've seen live matches where the match is now delayed, you know, from a 5 p.m. kickoff to a 6 p.m. kickoff because the bus hasn't arrived. And that's because there was traffic that you mentioned, you know, with due to the players not arriving early. We've seen walkovers where the team couldn't even financially afford to actually travel to the match, you know, and it disrupts the league, but it's also a bit of an unfair situation with regards to the teams because there's no financial contribution that's enough to carry those costs. You know, Coach Lerato mentioned the fact that you now make personal sacrifices, financial sacrifices as either a coach, as a parent, to make sure that, you know, the team can then perform. And I want to talk about the return on investment from a coach, from a parent. Osmeme, you used to have kids, a lot of kids in your car all the time when you were going to take your kids to specific tournaments and they didn't have transport to go back home. You know, it's almost like they are relying on you, you know, as another parent. You are everybody's parent to give them the lift to the match and to come back. Lerato, you've trained kids that are now playing in PSL, you know, in higher leagues and that kind of thing. What is the return on investment for people like yourselves, especially when it comes to the women's space? Because we know the finance is not there, but we have to give thanks to the people like you because you guys are basically another foundation of grassroots, you know. Is there one, or how can we get the return on investment to say, thank you, Lerato, you made me the player that I am today. Thank you, Osmeme, for all the lifts that you gave me for me to be able to go to training.
For now, return on investment, honestly, is satisfaction of seeing these kids succeed.
Not fall off the ranks.
Coincidentally, Lerato, in one of the development teams that she used to work at, both my kids played there.
Oh, so Laitan, from back in the days. I love it, I love it.
Yes, she's mad at my kids for the longest time ever, because my daughter, she's been playing in boys' teams. The only first time she actually played in the ladies' team was when she joined Mamelodi Sundowns. So she's been playing with boys. But Lerato have been those mothers go teaming that will hold Matsoho Amanaba, you know. Yeah, in that team, the struggles were real, honestly. I learned to hore okareka sanda gubagwa brotobola ubu slice ko pick and pay ureke paloni we great hore ilekane ba
everybody.
Yeah, the struggles are honestly real, and for now I feel hore we can do more. To be honest, most of the time it's not a question of parents don't afford. They are just not invested in it. We want to be those parents where you want to acknowledge your child has its alico PSL. You find parents o khona o reka Hennessy but ngwana ha mo fa 10 ranta ya hore a fihle ko tournamenteng
ana di soccer boots
a reke kota, you know. So at some stage, yeah, I was at a point where every Friday I would just go to Spa, buy Maroto, and because the next morning I knew I have to wake up very early and make sandwiches because the minute only mola ofaba how fela, what about bana babang? So those kids knew who they'll come and say, my old lady is sinkwa. They knew there was gonna be bread. Yeah, I used to have an SUV. I would even put them so that everyone gets home safe, because the team used to provide transport, but nebanka at a certain spot, which is not closer to home. So for them to move to that spot to get to home, it was a serious hassle. I mean, the bus will drop them at 7:30, 8 in the evening. So you would have to make sure that every child that is not there, and even if they have, at that point, we're talking about 13, 14, 15-year-olds, they can't be traveling on public transport that time of the night. But then you drop them off You find that the parents are there, they actually have a car in this house, but hence I'm saying, I think as parents, we can also try and do more in this space.
No,
but for now, right now, honestly, I've got my return on investment because most of those boys, they are playing professionally and they still acknowledge me when they see me. Like, it's just that proud mommy moment.
Yes.
You see them when you see how much they have achieved. That is the return on investment, and that's enough for me.
We love that, absolutely. And we're going to hold it there so I can come to Lerato basically to just give us her side of the story in terms of the ROI, because we need to break for a break now. But when we return, we are going to hear more from Lerato with regards to the ROI in her perspective.